Okay, Assalamualaikum class. All right, so today what we're going to be going into is we're going to be going into chapter 2, which will be development of multimedia project. All right, so when it comes to multimedia project, we all know there are two types of multimedia project. So we have a linear multimedia project, where it means the project is very straightforward. There is no interaction within the project with the user, all right? But if we have a non-linear multimedia project, meaning that our project is something that will have interactions with the user. For example, a website, a game, any kind of application that you create, all right? So when it comes to creating any of those type of multimedia, usually it involves certain type of phases. We have to go through certain phases in order to develop our multimedia project. Okay, so this chapter will explain to you everything about that. All right, the stages of multimedia project, who are the members inside the team, all right, what are the roles and responsibilities of each member inside the team. All right, so we'll be going into that today. All right, so when it comes to creating our multimedia project, there are certain stages or certain phases that we have to go through. Okay, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 basic phases in creating or developing a multimedia project. All right, so the first phase is planning and costing. So usually whenever we create our project, okay, the project always begins with an idea or a need. Okay, so this is called an idea analysis. Okay, so let's say you wake up one morning and you feel like, yeah, I think I'm gonna need to create, you know, an application, an alarm application, because I get so lazy to wake up in the morning, and I feel like if I create this application, it will help a lot of people out. You know, that is an idea. All right, so you suddenly have this like big, you know, revelation that you want to create this project. Or it could comes from a need. Let's say that okay, I'm telling you to create a project. Okay, so you need to do this no matter what. So that is, you know, something, you know, a project can be created from that as well. All right, so when it comes to creating your project, the first thing we have to go through is idea analysis. So you analyze the idea that you have. Okay, you discuss with the team members what you're going to do. All right, so you might need to outline the objectives, why we're doing this. So who is our target audience, all right, so who will be using our system, for example. Okay, the scope, how big you want to make it. All right, so does it involve games inside there, or does it involve I don't know, you want to put videos inside there, audio, so the content inside your project. Okay, everything needs to be planned out before you actually develop it. Right, so the next thing during this phase, you need to plan out your multimedia expertise that you require. So this means that let's say you're creating an application, all right, so what kind of expertise that you might need? Of course, I might need a programming expertise, someone who can program so that I can do interactions inside my application. Or if you're creating a video project, then the expertise that I might need is video editing, all right? So these are the skills that you require to develop your project. Okay, and then you also need to develop some sort of a prototype or a proof of concept. Okay, this is done or developed to demonstrate whether the idea for the project is feasible to be developed or not. Usually whenever people create a project, okay, they have this big idea, all right, so they will create some kind of a prototype to show people if this idea is okay, if this idea is doable. Okay, imagine you have this big idea. So if you don't do a prototype and you actually started doing it and you feel like, oh my gosh, this project is too big, it doesn't make sense for me to do this. All right, so basically it is a proof of the concept that you have. All right, whether the idea that you're creating, that you're trying to develop here, okay, is it doable, is it feasible? All right, so that's why we do prototype. Okay, it is also to show your clients or your audiences whether they would like it or not. okay? And then during this phase, you need to estimate the time you will need to do all the elements and then prepare the budget. All right, so this means that the project manager would want to sit down and think about how much time they need in order to develop the project. Okay, do I need 3 months to do this, or do I need 2 months, or is 1 year enough? Maybe it could be too much. Okay, so depending on the needs of your project, you need to sit down and really think about it. All right, and also prepare the budget. Okay, so what kind of software that you might need. Okay, this is where you specify what kind of hardware requirements, software requirements. Okay, and then is there any costing? If you're doing a video project, do you need actors? Do I need to rent out a studio or something? Okay, so prepare the budget and estimate the time so that you won't go overboard when it comes to not finishing up before the deadline, or wasting too much money. You know what I mean? Okay. So the second stage is designing and producing. Okay, so during this stage, once you have analyzed your idea, okay, you know what to do, you have done your prototype. Okay, this is where you kind of think about how you're going to do the application as a whole. How are you going to design each screen or each interface, or how are you going to, let's say if you're doing an application, okay, is there an interaction inside there? Okay, if the user click on this button, where will it go? Okay, how will your application look? Okay, but if you're doing just a video project, then you might need to do just a regular storyboard, okay, to show how you're going to plan out to do your project. So this is the phase, designing and producing. So you're performing each of the planned tasks to create a finished product. All right, so wherever you're creating, you need to plan it out. Either you're creating a storyboard, okay, or you're doing a site map. Okay, so however, designing a project requires knowledge and skills with computer tools to create graphic arts, video, animations, music, blah blah blah. So it means that since we've planned out how we're going to do it, all right, so the expertise that you've planned out earlier, okay, need to sort of be in line with what you're planning. So if you're doing, let's say, an application that has virtual reality, if you're planning to do that, then of course you need the skills and the tools to do that. All right, so during the designing and producing stage, okay, you will develop a storyboard, which is a graphic template. So basically it will describe your project, okay, how you're going to do it. Okay, you sketch out what your interface will look like. Okay, and then you provide some description. For example, if you take a look here at the top, I want to put a title, and then in the middle here I want to put a menu, okay, and down here I want to put a navigation bar. So when the come times for you to actually create the product, okay, the application will follow the storyboard that you've done. Okay, so if you take a look here, here's the title. Okay, then I have this menu, so I have these 5 buttons that I can click on. Okay, then down there I have a navigation bar, for example. Okay, so what you're planning, you will need to follow the storyboard so that you know what to do, okay, when it comes to your project. All right, so if you're doing a interactive application, of course you would need a sitemap, because this provides a chart of the flow of how user is going to interact with your project. Okay, so for example, if there are 5 buttons and I click on this button, where will it go? Okay, so it will show the flow of your interface. I mean, the flow of how the user can get through from one element to another. Okay. And then during this stage, okay, you might need to keep revising your product by getting feedback from client until they are happy. So once you've done your storyboard or navigation map before you actually started developing your product, okay, you can show the design that you've done. Show your storyboard, show your site map to your client. Is it okay? Can we proceed with this? Okay, so if they're okay with everything, or if they think that they want to add on something, okay, you can discuss that and keep revising the product until your client is happy. All right. So this is the different types of sitemap or navigation map that you can create when it comes to an interactive application. Okay, so a sitemap here will outline the connection or links among various areas of your content and help you organize your content and messages. So why we have a sitemap? Because we want to show the flow of the navigational the navigation of our system. So meaning that how we get from one page to another page. All right. So these are the 4 types of sitemap that you can create. Okay. The first one is linear. So with this, a linear sitemap, meaning that your application will be navigated in sequence. Okay. One frame or one byte of information to another. So let's say you have a page, a main menu page. Okay, so when you click on a start button, then it will go to the next page. Okay, then that will also lead you to a back page. Let's say you have a back button, then it can lead you to the back, the starting page. All right, but if you have a next page, it's kind of like a book. All right, so you can go back to forward, you can also go backwards, so it will kind of be in a linear form. All right, or it could be a hierarchical, or here, if you take a look here, hierarchical linear with branching, meaning that you have this one, you start with the one page. All right, so let's say you have about us and you have FAQ, for example. So if you click on about us, then it will go to this page. Then this about us page will lead you to another section of links that you can have. All right, so if you go to FAQ page, then maybe you can have another set of links. So basically it creates some sort of like branch that you can go from different location to another, different sections. Okay, and so basically users navigate along the branches of a tree structure. All right, so then you also have a composite structure whereby the users may navigate freely, okay, but are occasionally constrained to linear presentations of information and or data that is most logically organized in a hierarchy. What it means is that it is composite, is kind of a combination. It's a combination of linear and also hierarchical. Okay, maybe certain part is like a book. Let's say I have a start button. Okay, when I click start, okay, then it can lead to this page. Okay, but let's say I create an interactive storybook. Okay, so this page, this section will be in linear. So user can go forward, you can click on next, you can go backward. So basically it's like a book, right, in one section. And there's another section where the user can move freely. So it is in form of a hierarchical stage. All right, so let's say the user click on this, then it will go back there, or you could go to another link, or you could go to another link. So it's like kind of like, it's a combination, basically. Composite is a combination of linear and hierarchical. Okay, with non-linear, the users can navigate freely through the content of the project unbound by predetermined, meaning that this type of structure, non-linear, is up to the user. The user can go anywhere. Let's say you start off with one page, it can lead you to another page from another section. Okay, so the structure is very, it's not very too strict. Okay, so it maybe has a lot of back button. Okay, maybe it can jump from one section to another section. Okay, so that is non-linear. Okay, so when you do your sitemap for your project, okay, you can kind of think about how you want to structure the flow of your navigation for your application. Okay. All right, so the third stage is testing. So once you have developed your product, okay, from the planning that you've done, since you've done your storyboard and also your sitemap, okay, then you can actually develop the project yourself. All right, so this third stage is testing. So testing would means that you would need to, with a finished product, okay, you would need to test your product to make sure it meets the objectives of your project, okay, and it needs to work properly on the intended delivery platform. It meets the needs of client or end users. So this means that whenever you create any project, okay, you need to know its goals. Why are you doing this? So this would be the objectives of your project, okay. And then it needs to work on the intended delivery platform. So this means that, let's say you're creating an application and you want to do it for, you want to create a mobile application. So when it comes to delivery platform, I know that I'm creating this for a Android user, so it needs to work on Android phones, or on Apple phones, so it needs to work on iOS. All right. If you're doing a computer application, then it needs to work on Windows or Mac. All right. And then you also need to test your product whether it meets the needs of your client or end users. So since you're doing this or developing your application for other people to use, so you must make sure that the client would find it useful, or your end users would be willing to actually use your application. Okay, so when it comes to testing, there are two types. We have alpha testing and we also have beta testing. Okay, alpha testing is testing that is carried out by internal employees of organization to identify all possible issues before releasing the product to the public. So basically, alpha testing is done earlier on. So before your product actually is finished, okay, before you can say that, yes, I have finished my product, you need to test it out first. Why? Because we want to check whether the functionality inside your application is working or not. So let's say if I create this button, will it go to that page that I intended for it to go? Or if I click on this video, will it play? All right, so you're testing the functions, how it works and everything. Okay, who will be testing it? All right, the people who are developing it, or any other employees, the people who are inside your team. Okay, so the people who knows about your application, okay, about your project, they will be testing it first to see if it works. Okay, so once you've done that and you think, yeah, my project is nearly complete, okay, before I actually sell it or give it to the real users to use, okay, you can actually do a beta testing. So beta testing is another phase of testing whereby it is done as the final test before you actually shipped or deliver your product to your customers or to your users. All right, so what you can do here is you can take a group of representative of real users. Let's say I'm creating a student registration system, for example. Okay, so I would take a group of representative of real users. Maybe I take my students, for example, okay, as the testers. Okay, so they kind of represents the real people who will be using it. Okay, so these people will then test out your system and they will represent whether, you know, the real people in the real world would actually like your product or not. All right, so the testing group, okay, whenever you pick your testing group, okay, the testing group must not have preconceived ideas and should not include people who have been involved in the project's production. This is very important. Why? Because whenever basically whenever you create a project, okay, you want your project to be tested on with people who are very honest. Okay, you don't want people who are too nice to say to give, you know, constructive criticism to you. Okay, so and also this kind of people should also what's it called, should not have preconceived ideas. So let's say if I'm creating my own testing group, okay, it cannot be someone who knows about my project. Okay, because the audience or the real users, okay, who you're selling the product to would have no idea what your product is about. Okay, so if they're using it, they're just using it blindly. So if they like it, they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. So the people who are testing your product should be like that as well. Okay, so if you take someone who already knows about your product, then there's going to be some kind of a bias there. So you don't want that. You want real constructive criticism. All right. Okay, so when it comes to testing, do not choose any kind of friends or things like that. Okay, so especially when it comes to alpha testing, okay, because with kind friends, it's hard for them to give constructive criticism. Instead, they would say, yeah, it's good. Okay, if everything is good, then how are you going to improve your product? You know what I mean? Okay. All right, so the last stage would be delivering. Okay, so during this stage, once everything is done, okay, you've done all your testing, your product is now good to go. So all you need to do is just package and deliver the project to end users. So how you deliver is up to you, whether you want to deliver it on App Store, Google Store, or you want to deliver it through CDs, DVDs, or you just email it to people, or use it or put it up on websites and people can download it, or it's up to you how you're going to deliver the project to your end users. All right, so during this stage you might even need to do some tweaking, repairing and updates. So at this point, once you have delivered to your users, okay, usually the users would be using it, and you would notice that for every product there is a customer service section whereby the users, if they come across any problem, then they can just give some feedback. All right, so let's say they found any bugs. Okay, how come when I download it it won't open up, or if I click on this button something happens. So you might need to do some tweaking, repairing and even updates. Okay. So the question here says, what are the 4 basic stages in developing a multimedia project? So I'm going to let you answer that yourself. All right. So we have 4 basic stages that we've talked about earlier. All right. So by now you should be able to name them all. Okay. Now, requirements of a multimedia project. So whenever we create our multimedia project, there are certain things, certain skills that we might need. So the first things is the intangibles. The intangibles are the things that we cannot see, we cannot touch. So it is something that is already within, all right? So this means creativity skills, all right? So of course, if you're doing a multimedia project, you need to be creative, all right? Creativity, it can be born, you can be born with it, but you can also teach yourself in being creative. If you think that you're not creative, what you can do here is you can take some inspirations from other people's project, okay? So maybe you find, oh, is that how they do it? Okay, then you can actually take inspirations from that, all right? So if you find things that, if you look at a lot of different type of project, okay, you get yourself familiar with those kind of work, then the standard of how you think about, you know, how you're going to do your project is going to be a little bit different if you know nothing, you know. So you know, if you think that you're not creative, you can actually teach yourself to be creative. All right. Study, all right, study other people's projects, study how they do it. All right. Okay, so when it comes to creativity as well, you can think about how you can get the message across to the viewers in terms of scope and content. So when it comes to creativity, it's not just based on how the look of your project. It can also be based on how you get the message across to your viewers. So for example, let's say if I want to sell a product, okay, instead of me just showing, hey, this is the product, okay, I'm selling a mouse, okay, this is a mouse, you should buy it. Okay, that is very boring. It's too straightforward. So instead, you can create some sort of a storyline. Okay, like buat jalan cerita love story ke that involves a mouse. I don't know, something creative in order for you to get the message across to your viewers. Okay, this is in terms of scope and the content. All right, and also, if you are creative, and basically sometimes for us when it comes to creativity, we have all these different ideas, okay, but in order for us to actually deliver that, okay, we need to be proficient on with the hardware and software tools. So in order for you to really say that, yes, I am creative, but I can actually do it, okay, and actually provide what is inside my head onto my project is based on how you use your hardware and software as well. Okay, so for example, you know, a video project, if you know how to use Premiere Pro and also you know how to use After Effects, then of course your project will be a lot more gempak, a lot more better. All right. Okay, another skill is we have organization skills, all right? Develop and organize, outline and plan for the project. Again, when it comes to project, okay, if you are organized, if you know what tools to use and you are inside this team and you delegate your work properly, okay? So that is also important for you to get the job along, all right? For you to deliver your project on time and within budget. That is very important. Okay, and next thing we have is communication. All right, so since we're working in a team, okay, if you are creating a project that involves a lot of people, okay, inside your team, all right, you need to have communication between group members. Okay, communication is key. All right, if you think that you don't know them well, then what you can do is you can I don't know, meet them, all right, talk to them, get to know each other. All right. Okay, communicate with the client as well. Okay, since we're doing this for the client, okay, you also need to have a communication skill with your client. Ask them properly what they want. So basically, you're able to get the information from the client properly. All right, and then use quality equipment and software for communication setup. So meaning that this is based on how you how are you going to communicate with each other, either through WhatsApp, either through email. Okay, if you guys prefer to use Google Meet, then you can use Google Meet. All right, if you like to lepak, then you can meet each other at McDonald's, but don't do that now because we have COVID. All right, so that is out of the question. All right. Okay. The next type of requirements are the tangibles. So basically, the things that we need, the things that we see. When it comes to creating a multimedia project, these are the things that we need as well, other than skills. All right. So we have hardware, we have software, and also the people, the multimedia team. Okay, so now the question here is, why do you need a team when working with a multimedia project? This is very important. Why do we need a team when working with a multimedia project? Because, all right, even when an individual have all the multimedia skill set, the amount of work that needs to be done can be overwhelming. It's like this. In simpler words, okay, not all project, the scope is small. Okay, if you're doing a poster, yes, the scope is small, then you can just do it individually. But if you're doing an application, you're doing a game, okay, you can't do it alone because the job can be overwhelming. There's too much to do within such a limited amount of time. So, and what you need to do is you need to have a team. So certain people will have certain things to do, all right? So you're able to save time, you are able to get a lot more ideas, get everything done, okay, a lot better and a lot more efficient. Okay, so if we see here, okay, multimedia skill set is defined as the diverse range of skills required for a project. So if I'm asking you what is your multimedia skill set, okay, then you can say that, oh, I can do designing, I can do video editing, whatever. But if I'm talking about in terms of project, okay, what is this project's multimedia skill set, then let's say an application, all right? So maybe I need a programmer, I need a video editor, I need an audio engineer, all right? So basically all of these are the skills that we need in order to create our project. Okay, so by having a team of skilled individuals allows you to delegate tasks to these more skilled in a particular craft. So whenever you create your team, you must know what each person can do. So again, with your project, okay, you can ask each other whether, you know, what are their skills. So for example, if one person is good at drawing, then that person can be a graphic designer, all right, or an illustrator. If that person is good at doing, I don't know, TikTok videos, and that person can be a video editor, all right? So you can ask each other, discuss, okay, who will do what, all right? So if you guys don't know each other, all right, you can do a team building. That's why in companies we have team building, okay? Why we do team building? To basically merapatkanlah each other. Okay, so inside team building, we're doing activities. So we get to know each other so that whenever the time we have to work together, okay, we can actually communicate better with one another. Okay. All right, so these are some members of a multimedia team. All right, so we have project manager, multimedia designer, interface designer, writer, video specialist, audio specialist, programmer, producer for the web, and computer programmers. There are a lot of type of people that can be involved inside a project. So we'll go through each one. Okay, so the first person that is truly important inside a multimedia team is a project manager. Okay, if you notice, in every multimedia project, okay, there is always a project manager. So project manager is kind of like a leader inside the group. Okay, he will be the center of all of the actions. Okay, he says what will happen, he says what will be planned, he says what will go, what doesn't go. Okay, so he plans everything and he delegates the task to the team. Okay, so these are some of the basically what he will do. All right, so project manager will seize the overall development and implementation of a project. Okay, he will be the one who decides how we will be dealing with the budget. Okay, how we're going to be doing our scheduling. Okay, so which person will do what. All right, so he will do that. And he also deals with day-to-day operations, so meaning that how the team works together. So if there are any problems, for example, if someone is sick, okay, do you just let them be? Okay, of course someone would need to go home and rest. Okay, but the job, somebody will need to cover that. So he will need to figure out who will cover what. All right. So basically he figures out the day-to-day operation. So what happens if something happens? All right. And next thing, design and management of a project. Okay, ensures the project meets the needs of the end users. If you notice that whenever we meet the client, okay, the whole team doesn't go and meet the client. Okay, only the project manager goes. Okay, he will ask what the client needs and then he will deliver that to the team. Okay, so I just met the client today, he wants to add this, blah 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 blah. So he will deliver that to the team. All right, so he is involved in the process of designing and managing the project. Okay, and the project manager also need to understand the strengths and limitations of hardware and software so that good decisions can be made. Okay, imagine if you as a project manager, you don't know anything about software or about hardware, and you say, yeah, we can do that. So let's say you meet your client and say, yeah, we can do that. Of course. Let's say, okay, the user says, I want a mobile application where the camera will look into my eyes and they can scan my eyes and they can, whatever. So whenever you say to the client, yeah, we can do that. Definitely we can do that. But when you when you ask the team to do that, they're like, hold up, okay? What are you talking about? We can't do that because we don't have the tools and we don't have the skills to do that. So that's why the project manager, although he's not doing the actual job of developing the product in hand, all right, he needs to know what software the team will be using, how they will be using the hardware, what kind of skills they have, so that he can make good decision when it comes to the project and when it comes to meeting the client, all right? And of course, project manager need to ensure people's skills and organizational skills by keeping the team happy and organized. So again, in order to get the project moving along, everyone there needs to work in a happy mode, all right? So everything is doing well. So if someone is stressed out, if someone is having a fight, okay, he needs to help and deal with that so that anything, these like small things, okay, we're able to resolve so that the work can be progress smoother, all right? And also, of course, he will be conveying information between the team and also the client. So this is the role of project manager. So this is an example of a project manager, okay, of course. Okay, even just doing a CD-ROM reference guide, it needs a project manager. Why? It may seem simple, right? But in order to create a reference guide, you need to know, okay, what kind of content am I going to do this? Okay? What kind of, how am I going to do the reference so that people can understand this a lot better? So this person will be dealing with that, okay? He needs to have a team, so he will bring any people that he needs inside his team, right? Okay, so next we have is Multimedia Designer. So Multimedia Designer is responsible in preparing the blueprint for the entire project, okay? So basically when it comes to creating a project, of course, we will need to do the planning, okay? So what is the content inside there? Whether you want to put pictures, want to put video, want to put audio. So what are the things you want to put inside there? The Multimedia Designer will deal with that, okay? So the media, okay? Inside there, how are we going to do the media inside there? Do we need to design any graphics? Do we need to record any audio? Do we need to write our own content, for example? Okay, the multimedia designer will do that. Interaction. Let's say you have buttons inside there. So if I click on this button, where will it go? What will pop up? Again, multimedia designer will deal with that. All right. If you take a look at that, there are a lot of things that multimedia designer will do. So there are many different types of multimedia designers. We have information designers. So information designers is actually the person who will actually decide how the user is gonna access your information. Okay, so the information designer will make sure, all right, that whatever information that you put inside your application, it can easily be opened, or it can easily be accessed, it can easily be read by the user. All right, so it needs to be basically it needs to be user friendly. Okay, so whatever information they put inside there, okay, your interface, okay, how you present your information, it needs to easily be retrieved by the user. All right, so okay, this is a lot different than instructional designer. If you take a look here, okay, there's a difference between information designer and instruction designer. Instruction designer will focus more on how the users process the information. So this is more towards, let's say, if you're doing an educational application, for example, e-learning, okay? So let's say you want to teach students how to do an experiment, for example, okay? Of course, there are going to be games inside there. There are going to be activities. So how you get the students to understand the content that are inside there is done by instructional designer. Okay, so instruction designer is more on how the user can process the information, whether they understand the thing that you're teaching or not. thing that you're presenting. Okay, information design is how you can get the information. There's a difference between the two. Instructional is more on how you understand how the user can process the information. Information designer is more on how the user can get the information. Whether you click on this button, if there's a question mark, that stands for I don't know. Alright, so if they click on that, then keluarkan tips or something. Okay, so how the user is going to get the information. Instructional designer is how you can make the student understand the information a lot better. For example, maybe I can design the application to, instead of writing text, I can provide animation instead for them to understand the information better. Okay, so that is decided by instructional designer. All right. Okay, so next thing we have is graphic designer. Graphic designer, illustrators, animators, image process specialists. This kind of people usually deals with the visual aspect, what you see on the screen, whether it's pretty, whether it's attractive. Okay, so graphic designer, people who design the things, the graphical aspects, okay, the image, okay, the backgrounds, okay, the things that you see. Illustrators is more on creating characters, you're drawing characters. Okay, animators, you create animations. Okay, image processing specialists, the people who process certain images to make it clearer. For example, you have pictures that are blurry, so maybe I need to edit it, so you need to sharpen the image, for example. Okay, and they also have interface designer. Interface designer is more on the GUI, the interface. They will make sure that whatever buttons that are inside there, okay, will be user friendly. Okay, so the interface will make sure, the interface designer will make sure that the interface is user friendly, okay, so that the user can interact with whatever elements that are inside there a lot easier. Okay, so interface design will also design the site map as well. Okay, how the flow of the navigation. All right. Okay, again, I've talked about interface designer. Okay, interface designer will work hand in hand with information designer, interactive design, and media design. So what this means is that with interface designer, since you're designing the interface, okay, you want to make the interface user friendly, so you must make sure that everything inside there is user friendly as well. Everything is organized. Everything can be accessed easily. So that comes to information. So let's say the user wants to get about us info. So you must know, okay, if they click on this, then they can get the about us info. Okay, interactive design. So the buttons. So maybe about us, do they need to click on about us? Then they have another button to click on, or they have another button to click on. Okay, so you must devise or create your site map properly, so that you know how you're going to make the flow of the navigation a lot easier. All right, don't make the user click on too much things. It gets tiring. Okay, the less clicks, the faster they get the information, which is more user friendly. Okay, but don't make it too simple. If it's too simple, the content is not organized, because everything is in that page, so that's not good as well. So how are you going to design your interface to make it user friendly? You have to think about that. All right, and also the media design inside there. What kind of design of content that you want to put inside there to make it user friendly as well? Okay. All right. So multimedia writer is also known as content writer. So this person is responsible in writing the dialogue, narration, voiceover, proposals, text screen, also known as subtitles, or whatever titles you see on the screen. Okay. Also, they are responsible in creating characters and actions for an interactive environment. So let's say inside your game, you have a little person there talking, "Hi, welcome to our game." So the characters that were created inside there, let's say you're creating a dog who can talk. Okay, so you're creating the characters, but who will be designing it is a different person. Okay, so the narrations of the dog, okay, will be done by the writer as well. Okay, so anything when it comes to content, okay, or the textual aspect will be done by the content writer or multimedia writer. Okay. Okay, we also have video specialists. Again, so if you're creating a video project, you need a video specialist. Why? Because video specialists can shoot a video. So you need to know how to use a camera. Maybe a DSLR camera, a video camera. I don't know what kind of camera you use. Okay, so that person needs to know how to shoot a quality video. Okay, and how to transfer those videos to the computers. all right? And also that person needs to know how to edit it using a digital non-linear editing system. So this is basically a more high-end software, editing software such as Premiere Pro, you have Sony Vegas, so they need to know how to use this type of software, okay? So because with video specialists, they won't use Windows Movie Maker, all right? They will use Premiere Pro instead, okay? Because inside those kind of software, they have a lot of things that you can do, all right, to make your video look a lot more professional. Okay, and the video specialists need to know how to prepare the completed video for delivery on DVD or web. So they need to know if you want to put it on the web, where? Is it YouTube? So maybe I need to create an MP4 video, and then I need to know how to upload it onto YouTube, how to embed it onto websites, for example. Okay. All right, so then we also have audio specialists. Audio specialists responsible in designing and producing music, voiceovers, sound effects, okay? So let's say if you have a sound effect on somebody clapping, then maybe you want to record your own people clapping, okay? Or music, you want to put your own music, so then you need to locate suitable music and talent. Maybe I know a friend who can actually create a song for me, so I need to record it, schedule a recording session, and then edit those materials, okay? So these are all done by audio specialists. Right? They can do narration. So if you want to put somebody who narrates inside your video, right, then you can call an audio specialist for that, because this person can actually help you to record the audio, to edit the audio as well, right? Okay, then we also have multimedia programmer. So this this person usually is involved in non-linear project, such as websites or applications, games, okay, any kind of software applications that you want to do. Okay, multimedia programmer is also known as a software engineer. Okay, this person is responsible in integrating all multimedia elements of a project into seamless whole using authoring tools. Okay, so multimedia programmer, all right, they will write the code, okay, using a programming language in order to bring all of these elements together into one application using an authoring tool such as Flash, you have Dreamweaver, you have Eclipse, okay? So basically you want to create the application, so you need programming for that, all right? So whenever we do programming, of course, there are certain things that we can do inside there, display elements, okay? Let's say if I click on this button, then a video will pop up. So how are you going to do that? All right, so controlling peripheral devices. So let's say user enter their name and they click enter. So hello Najwa, for example. So you need programming for that as well. What is the input? What is the output? Okay, so programmer will be able to do that, right? Managing complex timing, transitions, record keeping. Let's say you have a timer. You need a coding for that as well, right? So whatever functionalities that you put inside your application is done by the programmer, right? Okay, lastly is producer of multimedia for the web. Okay, this person is responsible in putting together a coordinated set of pages for the World Wide Web. All right, so again, regular application and websites or web pages are two different things. Okay, because when it comes to web pages or websites, they are put inside the World Wide Web. Okay, so even the programming language that is used is different. Okay, with web pages, they use HTML, they use CSS, they use JavaScript, okay, they use PHP. So maybe for computer programs, regular computer programs, they uses, I don't know, ActionScript, C++, Java, so they are completely different things. So that's why we have a different role for producer of multimedia for the web. All right, so this person will be designing how the website or web pages will look like, okay, how to code to make it look like that, okay, to put these different links, hyperlinks to get from one page to another, okay, so this is done by the producer of the web. All right, so again, when it comes to website or web pages, the websites needs to be updated, because let's say imagine you ITM if the website is not updated. Right now, all information can be accessed online. So if the content is not updated, okay, it is obsolete. It cannot be used anymore, because you know what you're putting out in the website or web pages can be accessed by everyone all over the world. All right, so the content inside there needs to be updated and changed at all times so that it is relevant with the current time. And that is important for websites and web pages. So this is also handled by the producer of multimedia for the web. Alright, so that is it for this chapter. So I guess I'll see all of you in our next class. Bye everyone.